I wanted to talk about some news that came across my radar. One, there's like tons of strikes going on all over the country, and I haven't been seeing it in quote unquote the mainstream media, right? You know, ABC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC. They may have covered it, but I don't think it's getting the kind of coverage that it should be. So on the one hand, you have the situation where all of these unionized workers are striking because labor conditions are bad. They're either not getting proper pay, they're not getting proper health care, the hours are egregious, things of that sort, right? The reason why unions were formed in the first place is to protect us from exploitation of the capitalists, right? Okay, so we have that going on. The other thing that's happening at the same time is that we have hundreds and thousands of, shipping crates on the various docks, not just in America, but around the world, that have not been offloaded from the ships. There are ships waiting, and the ones that have been offloaded haven't been able to put on trucks because of labor shortages. Now, if y'all remember in 2020, we had a scenario where frozen food, fish and vegetables that were shipped from China and different other places, they were rotten at the port because people were getting sick with COVID. So we have these two juxtaposition things going on. Another thing that caught my eye in the news. And by the way, if I had the red button where I could just press it and activate a solution, the National Guard have proven excellent resource in terms of getting together some kind of organized effort. For example, remember when they had the National Guard setting up these little medical facilities and tents where you could go and get your shot? We had that in my state. They had the National, I believe it's the National Guard out there. Had everything organized. You first the website helped. You scheduled on the website, call, talk to a person to confirm. And then you had your time period. You come in there, the guards was there, and you went. So they're really good. The military is good at organizing. You know that the military people got folks that can, operate cranes, and if they don't, rather, they can train them. They got people who know how to drive trucks. So to me, the Biden administration, they could use the National Guard to kind of help, ease the pressure, because it's a bottleneck for real of getting, these ships and unloaded and all that kind of stuff. They would give them some stuff to do. I mean, aren't we supposed to be out of Afghanistan? You know what I mean? Aren't we supposed to be out of Afghanistan? So that would be something that they could do to resolve that issue. I've been reading. I was listening to the audiobook because I read slow, right, when it comes to print, of 1984, just revisiting it. And, my favorite part of the 1984 book is the Ministry of Truth. How things are curated, how truth and history and actual events are curated, for media, in the media for the public consumption. And sometimes I think that happens in social media, and I'll leave it at that. Some other headlines that have crossed my radar is more on the sci-fi. It seems like a science fiction kind of vibe. One, you can probably see this little article here, where scientists took like brain stem cells or stem cells with the brain or whatever. And that little brain, clump of cells actually grew eyes. And the eyes were able to detect light. And so, of course, I'm thinking, because in my other videos I review comics. I love that stuff. I review comics. Why? Because you can read them to your kids, spend time with your kids, and plus it's an escape, Black-owned comics, by the way. And so I thought, man, this cloning thing is really coming up. And of course, I always believe that what's reported in the news might be less than half of what's really being accomplished behind the scenes. So I thought that was interesting. There's another thing that's interesting about sci-fi. and I'm sorry, about Wi-Fi. So I don't know if you remember your old iPhones or whatever, but sometimes if you talk on them a long time, it heats up your hand, or sometimes your hand, like the iPhone I got is actually my daughter's old iPhone. Even my iPad, it's like I'm scrolling for a while. After a while, my fingertips get numb because I'm near that antenna. You know, the antenna is at the ends of the iPhone. Anyway, I've been reading articles that say that not only is the radiation kind of dangerous or whatever, but it can affect your mood. And so you might see this article headline pop up where scientists are talking about how the Wi-Fi radiation can be used to affect the mood. And particularly, this study I'm thinking about talks about how they did studies on people trying to sleep. And so, there's different levels of sleep, right? And you have like delta waves, I believe it's called. And that's the majority state of your sleep. And so they said that the radiation from the phone impacts or reduces or suppress the delta waves. And even after the phone was turned off, that effect lasted up to an hour after the phone was turned off. So I mean, I don't know, maybe that's why I have a hard time getting sleep. I don't know, but I just thought that was interesting. Finally, this is an old article, but I remember it was mentioned in a Jay Electronica song, how France was releasing their records on, I believe it was France, they're releasing their records on UFO stuff. And I know that Trump, one of the few good things he did, Trump was talking about, I think he wrote executive order that the feds are supposed to release the records that they have about, UFO type stuff or whatever, which I think is dope. I think that'd be dope. It'll be a distraction, obviously, but I think it'll be dope. And finally, I know that sometimes politics can be like religion, or politics can be like sports, where people have a real emotional investment in certain politicians. And but like religion, and maybe like sports, the more information that you get, the more history you get behind the scenes, it can impact the investment that you have. So I'm working on my third book about Trump. Okay, you may see it here if I can clip it. The first one is called Fear. I think the first one's called Fear. The second one is called Rage, and the third one I'm working on now is called Peril. And so, recently, they released in the news about how General Milley was concerned about Trump's mental state, and he was, the January 6th thing popped off, and of course, the militaries of the world were watching. And Milley had that sense of it. And he was like, let me call my people, my counterparts in these other countries, let them know that, cool out. You know what I mean? Nothing's, this is just the way democracy is. Sometimes it's messy. And, people was upset with him about that. But inside the White House, according to Bob Woodward, and Bob Woodward was the guy, behind, like the Watergate reporting and all that kind of stuff. So he got a history of putting good reporting out there. Basically, my daughters used to watch this YouTube series about this guy, Angry Grandpa. Y'all ever? I never watched it. Oh, that's not true. I watched a half a second of it, and it seemed like the guy's bipolar or whatever. But his kids or his grandkids would pull pranks on him, and he would flip out. I'm not gonna say Trump seemed like Angry Grandpa, but any ding against his ego seemed to set him off, and I think that maybe he was great in The Apprentice. And maybe back in the day in real estate, maybe he was the man. But I just don't think that he was the guy for that office. And when you listen to the reporting and the testimonies and these sweet letters him and Kim Jong-il write to each other. It just wasn't. A lot of people, not just Americans, did not feel safe with him in the office. And I know that people have an emotional investment, but like I had to do with religion, where I studied enough history where I kind of studied my way out of religion. I would suggest, even with Obama, you know what I mean? It's you study some history and you may find that the guy that you idolize isn't the person that's worthy of that kind of emotional investment. Because a lot of us did that with Obama and we don't got shit to show for it. And I kind of feel like Trump is like white people's Obama. So, except people, the world didn't feel like shit was going to pop off with Obama. You know what I mean? But toward the end, toward the end of his presidency, there was a lot of people around the world that were concerned. A lot of people were concerned. So anyway, I read an audiobook, by the way, Fear, Rage, and Now Peril. And I suggest if you're, interested in history, I like a little bit of history, and if you're definitely interested to understand the political piece better, the books you find out people are people wherever you go. The politics that you deal with in a fucking coffee house or a restaurant or a corporate office is the same politics in White House, but just heavier implications and just a lot more egos being balanced out and tossed around and stuff. But it's worth the read. Worth the read. Anyway, this is Jonathan Soul, jonathansoul.com, where you see my videos on news commentary and my entertaining videos about comic books for you and your kids to read. Life can get heavy sometimes, and it's good to have a way to kind of release and relax. And other than sitting under a clear blue sky and sunshine, sometimes, sitting down with your kid or yourself and reading a good comic is a really cool way to relax. All right. Love you guys. Hope all your dreams come true. JonathanSoul.com. Jonathan Soul on Instagram, Twitter, and SoundCloud and iTunes. All right. Love you guys. Peace.